I'm going blind and I'm running out of time, so I figured I'd give y'all a special. The material that I've got here for you guys is something that I wrote up. It's been something that's been on the back burner for several years, possibly decades. Okay, as you know, I'm a second edition Dragonlance guy, and that's what I grew up on. Okay, so a lot of my stuff is based on second edition material that's been around for about 30 years. So, what I've decided to do is to give some OGL free use stuff for all you module makers, writers, all you people out there. Now, you enterprising assholes, you watsy fuckers, you can go take a jump. I don't care. I don't want none of that. But like I said, for you content makers that make you Dragonlance content, this is for you all. Okay, I don't mind if y'all make a little bit of a buck off of it, whatever, as long as you don't try to come back and sue me for my own damn material. Okay, this is for the Dragonlance community, all of you. Okay, all right. I was fooling around with the text to speech the other night, and I figured out that when you say something in an English accent, your intelligence goes up about 2 levels, even if it is an AI. Now, there is a lot of conflict about people using AI these days, but I can tell you, if I go fucking blind, it's going to be one of these fucking AI that has to read this shit to me. Okay, you lose a lot of nuance in this. I'm praying to God that I don't lose my eyesight, guys. It actually is kind of scaring me. All right, without further ado, and yes, for anybody interested, I've made this a 7-page PDF. I print out these. If anybody wants any copies of these materials, email me. Get a hold of me on either Facebook or, Facebook's one, but you can get a hold of me through YouTube, whatever. There's ways to get a hold of me. Those who know, you know. If it matters. If not, send me a comment here. While I'm thinking about it, I want to give a shout out to whoever are my recent followers. I don't know who all has followed here in the past week, but I did the Ghostbusters drop, so like I said, I want to thank y'all for that. I'll go ahead. I don't know if it pops up on the screen or not, but I want to give a shout to Honest Gamer, Mildo141, and Sammy Fox. Thank you guys for subscribing. It made the sound effect anyway. I don't think it made the widget. All right, guys. Since this thing's picking up the audio, I'm gonna go ahead and run it. I might flash some pictures up on occasion, but you'll just have to bear with me. Okay, guys. This is Burrfoot. Okay. All right, guys. Let's go ahead and rock it here, and I'll. All right. Let's see here. Where did I put it? Oops. Well, now I got to pull it up again. There we go.
Kaelin Burrfoot is the name given to a human, half-Kender, once disgraced and redeemed, Solamnic Knight recruit, whom would later become the paternal father who raised the Kender named Tasselhoff Burrfoot. Kaelin's parents were Kyushu Plains people who wandered into Zaktsaroth long ago and never came back. As a child he was rescued from the dark depths by an unlikely band of Kender explorers, and brought back to the surface to live with them as a child. The human boy later grew up and left home to join the Solamnic Knights on Sancristal in Urgoth. He still had nightmares about the Black Dragon Kisant. Later on he joined a garrison and became friends with a Kendermaid scout, most likely Tar's mother, who had known him as a child. Although there was no romance between the two, obviously one being a Kender of significantly older age than Kaelin, he admired her as a mother figure and they went on many adventures as a recruit for the company. On a training mission he once stepped on a burr in the dark, giving the whole platoon away. The company named him Burrfoot, for spite, and the name stuck. Tasselhoff once spoke of the half-Kender who almost became a Solamnic Knight. It is questionable whom exactly Tasselhoff's biological father was. All we know is that somehow he met that Kendermaid scout and they had a baby. Tars and his parents became separated, nobody knows how. His mother describes it as, "A ship came out of the sky, he got on it and never told me where he was going. I hope he's okay, but we got lost. I had to go look for him and what I found, well. Tanis, it's good that Tars has found friends to keep his feet on Krynn's roads. You miss your path and it's a mess of a way getting back home. I've been there. The elderly Kendermaid sipped her tea noisily, and stared at them through her spectacles, pausing to dab at the steam collecting on the surface with a kerchief Astrid handed her. Looking closely, it might have not been steam, but tears welling up in her eyes as if remembering something painful to talk about. For me, I'm back on Krynn where I belong, but you, my son, oh, will you ever find what you're looking for? Meet a nice girl like Astrid here perhaps? Or no, maybe your story begins differently? Mine did. I've seen many futures and pasts. It's all so confusing and makes your head spin around, gracious for a Kender to be so flummoxed. I've seen the other side of the universe now, and it's so terrifyingly wonderful and horrible, but it's just like Fizban told you, my son, some doors they kept locked from Kender for a reason. Not that they shouldn't be opened or explored, but it helps to know which ones aren't a waste of your time. Time is important for you, the candle with the brightest light, and you've got to use that light within you to get you out of the darkest of places. It was at this time at an orphanage in northern Urgoth, a few decades precluding up to the War of the Lance. Kaelin was given charge to look after a young Kender child as a promise to a friend, while She went to find out who took him, Tasselhoff's real father? At least that's what the hastily scrawled letter in the Kendermaid's handwriting that'd been significantly burnt and rendered illegible had implied. DM, note, what if all this multiverse hopping around Tars actually did paradox and accidentally romance his mother to become his father? Kenders are known to mess things up on a monumental level. Actually, this is hogwash, but you see where this is going. Kaelin was given a young Kender infant barely a few months old to look after. Not knowing much about Kender, he did his best and raised the Kender as a human child. Kender babies mature at twice the rate human babies do. By the age of 3 of a human toddler, a Kender child is already walking and talking. Ancelonian Kender, depending on their region, have extremely coarse and thick hair that grows at an alarming rate. Kender are masters at maintaining and weaving their hair to accommodate this. Hilo Kender keep their kids' hair short just to stop the siblings from setting it on fire, or getting it caught in something. Kaelin found this out because he didn't often cut the child's hair, so it wore a topknot. The orphanage had given the child the name on the note left with the baby that said, Kaelin. At the time, little Tars didn't have a name and was apt on picking the right one to suit him. Tars says he changed his mind many times. Once while out walking around with the young Kender on his shoulders. Through a fair in northern Urgoth, a drunken barbarian and his wench bellowed at them when they saw the child's prominent topknot. Tasselhoff! Tasselhoff! For once the humans were laughing and being amicable to this Kender child. It pleased the boy enough he looked up at the man he called Dad and said, Tasselhoff, that is my name. And so the Kender learned to walk, talk and read the maps he loved. Tars was an exceptional Kender, because he was raised around humans who had in turn been around Kender enough to understand and tolerate them. On into his teens he found company among a diverse crowd of outcasts who found their value in each other due to having one attribute the other lacked, but it held them all together, strength in the circle hoop of companions or tribe, the analogy the Plains people often spoke of. Tars did indeed find his mother. She's old, hey, I'm older too, and old Kender tend to be set in their ways. I didn't grow up with her, but she's still my mom, and when she talks about things I now understand why I think the same way sometimes. She still talks to me when she's not thinking about other things, but it's hard to hold her attention. She's like Tanis and Karamorn or any other human I've known. See that what was so special about my dad, and yes, my mom and dad both served in a company with Stum's father. Yeah, okay, maybe this man Kaelin wasn't my Kender dad, but he's still my dad because he listens to me when he's smart, but he doesn't stay put for very long. Whole War of the Lance I had no idea he was on Sancrist Isle, and Fizban knew and didn't tell me, but told Dad everything about me, and Tanis, and everybody about me breaking the dragon orb. Laurana and Flint met him a bunch of times and didn't even know it. He met Flint. How? Could I have not been there for that, and I'm still a little mad at him for not at least showing up for a bowl of soup. I know he got soup because he never turns down soup. He just grabbed a trencher and went and ate it over by the Gold Dragon stable, where they didn't want Kender messing about with the saddle buckles. But I remember waking up that evening during a nap on the battlements, and finding this little toy in my hand I'd not seen since I was a young Kender, and a piece of parchment that said, a Burrfoot through N through *, And wouldn't you know it, my knapsack was a little bit more full, come to think of it, with extra rations I don't recall borrowing or finding anywhere, and Flint said some knight on the battlements gave him a nice piece of soapstone to whittle with. I don't know who this Kalin is, but I'm assuming you are talking about my dad. He and my mother were technically never married, but they've been friends a long time, just like Tanis and Laurana, except once again, as Astrid explained to you, with her being an exceptional engineer that studied with gnomes, a big part does not fit into small part without adequate purpose or means of integration. A silly human cannot root with a kenderkin. Yo silly boy, ho ho ha, it does not fit, this part, why eh? Nay, it does not. Besides, dear human boy, I knew you when you was a baby, a squealing little human that go poo-poo and cries even when Astrid and Pez make faces to cheer human baby up, and then baby laugh, and then go poo-poo again and then cry. It's not want me to have kendling as they eat and poo-poo twice as much. Tars purses his lips and tries to imitate a female Kender's Northern Ergothian dialect hilariously. My parents travelled to Haven when I was old enough to walk with them and carry my own hoopak. The plainsmen were quiet around my parents, I guess because Dad being human and my Kender birth mom. They know humans and Kenders aren't even remotely compatible. They didn't have a problem with my mother, but Dad once said he was of the plains people just like Riverwind and Gold Moon, but it was so long ago he didn't grow up with them, and he didn't feel like they wanted him there. I think I did tell Gold Moon once about my dad. She must have thought I was telling her a tall tale about the half-Kender who almost became a Salamnic knight. But she smiled and said something to Tanis while looking into the stars round the campfire. I remember, Alontia, she said. The tale of the lost son found again. When I asked Tanis about it later, I had to because Riverwind and Gold Moon were preoccupied when I took the notion, and remembered to ask a tiny detail, and Riverwind chased me out of the tent despite Gold Moon saying, the Kender are but like children. He does not know my love, come back to bed as I'm sending him away now. Tars means no harm. This was followed by the comment from Tika and Karamorn, he does it to us all the time. Anyway, Tanis said it meant wayward son, or fortunate son, or prodigal son. He said that people find their way inevitably back to family no matter what, and that is true. When I left on my wanderlust I knew I'd come back around. Someday, I just didn't know when. Anyway, Mom is not sure what happened to my Kender dad. We're always receptive to looking. Since I've been to Sigil and the Abyss both now, I can tell you dying once is just the beginning, but the wait is so boring, and it doesn't function like you'd want it to. Flint and Kitiara, they can't remember anything about me. Tars sniffles, I have to teach them all over again who I am, which is okay, but gee, that's a lot of time. I've got so much story to tell and it can take a long time to get it all, so I figure I tell the parts one remember myself, while I have time to. How did I get to Sigil? No, you say it like giggle. Did you know writing just the word out on piece of parchment makes the letters go all squiggly around the paper in a ring? Well, Sigil, it's okay. What little I got to see of it. See, when I got there I was not feeling good at all and thought I was going to die, and not in a pleasant or even interesting way, but a sad kind of wasting and not at all heroic way. But anyway, it was kind of a trap, see, because it wasn't meant for me, but Fizban went in there and saved me and got me somewhere. My brains wouldn't leak out into my shoes, which while would be interesting to see for me, he said it wouldn't be interesting to let the rude 6 feet Abishai, Fizban said it was a demon or something, drink them like a tankard of ale until the glowing bit of my soul pops like a grape in his maw. Those things belch when they talk and you can't understand half of what they say with scales and the tongue, and winged Lady Grace says it's mostly lies and untruths because they are fiends and they are supposed to tell lies and untruths. Fall from Grace, have you met her? She said my kind were rare in Sigil. She said Kenders couldn't get into Sigil due to us being tied to the prime material by a grey gem or some such. That's why I was horribly sick when I came in. Granted, the place stinks in places and it's dirty and clean and can be so many things at once, and tons of the most interesting people. Anna, Dakan, and 2 actually conversational if not malevolent fiends who Takasis said were ingrate pathetic slimes, but she slapped both of them around, and not only did they like it, this neat blue flame popped up on one of their bodies, and now Athelgrin has been blessed if he hasn't been mazed by now. Something called the lady didn't want the queen making too much trouble according to Fizban on these streets amongst you primes, and plain ass we are, but just travellers along the Great Wheel. I Takasis and I have walked these streets on a rare occasion. For this is the greatest neutral ground in the multiverse, for here we feel as mortals do, alive and dead. You can stand out in the street in a spot and it will thunderstorm followed by snowflakes, but then it makes a bunch of mud, and all the streets go uphill and the place does not move like a prime material world. That's what Fall from Grace called a KRYNN. She said KRYNN has a bunch of moons and planets. But it's not just all planets. See, imagine if the darkness of the sky was just a big curtain and if you pull it back. Maybe that's an even longer story. Fizban told me not to worry too much about that because Kenders are little and so we take care of the small things first. Oh, but trust me, it's neat though. Did you know there are these magic ships that float on anything? Anyway, Fizban put this neat blue gem in my chest. No, it doesn't hurt. I can make it light up when I want it to. Watch this. Yeah. Okay, it's lit but not as bright except when I feel a certain way. You know Astrid doesn't need one. No, cause of course she was born on the moons. She could have hopped around and got that business with Strahd settled before Raistlin showed up and killed poor Ticklemop. Granted, Ticklemop as a vampire was lonely as she was born before the cataclysm in a former life, but who knew that yanking her life soul out by the topknot would weaken the link Soth had to Sithicus? It wasn't the amulet in the wolf Ticklemop had found. It was Ticklemop that kept the whole thing together while Soth was stuck in the mirrors. Once Raistlin freed her soul, whoops, it caused a fracture just enough to allow Soth to confront Strahd in Barovia. Strahd got mad. Raistlin got madder. I saw Raistlin take the staff of Magus and light Strahd up like a torch. It didn't kill him, just made him ugly and bigger and meaner. Enraged mutated Strahd, see stats *DM. It was astounding to watch because Strahd really is a horrible selfish monster who didn't care about Kitiara or Laurana or Tanis or me, or Astrid or even Soth. The big bully was just using Soth to claim KRYNN as another fiefdom in his boring dismal foggy cold castle. You'd think that place was interesting, but it was full of rude ghosts and haunts. Strahd really is full of himself. He came riding up on a nightmare which, sorry to say, I'd already been there and done that once before a long time ago with that stinking waste of flesh Denzel *, with me being tied to the back of one. Strahd is a fat liar and thinks he's clever, and Raistlin knew he was telling a whopper when he tried to get us to remove Soth, but he wasn't intending to let any of us leave the stinking fog. He cast a spell, threw me and Raistlin into this big portal hoping it would kill us, and it almost did. Fizban found me, and Takhisis, well, even if she is the Queen of Darkness, she risked KRYNN being destroyed just to grab Raistlin in Sigil and get us home. Sigil is a big clock, like a caged clock. Fiends and Soth were going to trap Fizban or Takhisis in there, so they couldn't get out, and then the Black Nebula would devour KRYNN like a grape.
Alright, what do you think, guys? Pretty damn cool, huh? And that's just part of it, what I got read out. Okay? I got some other ones. If you want, I'll go ahead and let another one roll. There's another one about Astrid and Pez. I have yet to get Astrid's thing transferred over. I was going to have that one and run that one out on audio too. But like I said, guys, they're about 7 pages. I don't know. But I thought that was kind of cool to have the computer read it out. If nothing else, you know, that's pretty cool. All right. But yeah, guys, I used a lot of the material from Ravenloft, Spelljammer, and Planescape. Yep, that's pretty ambitious, I have to admit. Margaret Weiss or Tracy Hickman had never intended to have them do any of that. I don't think they ever wanted any of that done. But it's based on 2nd edition material. The gaming part, like I said, guys, we've been doing it for years. So, there you go. It's TSR era. And so we did. Simple as that. But anyways, if y'all are interested in making this work and doing some Dragonlance content, hit me up. I'm going blind. I ain't got nothing else left to do. So, I'm going to make the best of it. Yeah, you got to use that flame that burns within you to get you out of the darkest of places. And that's true. Let's see. What else can I play for you? Let me see here. Hold on just a second here, guys. Let me look. Let me see. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to shut this one off. this up. Yeah. And then we're going to where's he at? Pez out. Okay, there we go. There we go. Okay. Just hold on just a second here, guys. Bear with me. Okay. Yeah, here we go. This was just listen to it. You'll like it. Trust me. Hold on just a second here, guys. Let me get the proper picture up here. Oh hell, you can actually read it right now. Okay, you can see it. Okay. I'm going to. Well, just as soon as I get my shit together here, guys. Hold on just a second. Oh hell, you can see it. All right. Well, okay.
Who knew that at the climax of the War of the Lance, right at the precise moment the Queen of Darkness would have been able to claim a victory regardless of whether her plan failed in Neraka? A Sivak Draconian and an evil wizard impostor on the Isle of Sanchrist in northern Urgoth were attempting to bring about a second cataclysm, discovering the unknown secrets of KRYNN's most secretive order. Their plan was to make another meteor come into KRYNN's atomosphere, hence ushering in a second cataclysm. That plan failed. A very large spell-jamming ship came screaming like a meteor into KRYNN's lower atmosphere, and squashed the would-be tyrants like bugs when it made landfall right in the middle of the ritual. The Draconian was too stupid to move, and it along with the Takhisis cult of would-be usurpers were hilariously snuffed in an instant. The absolute immense size of the ship remains beached on KRYNN to this day, and a mansion was built up around the debris and wreckage of the intact pieces. It was here at the end of the War of the Lance the University of Sanchrist are made up of the same contingent of elves, dwarfs and gnomes who had overseen study of the dragon orbs asterisk, and some individuals who also had knowledge of other worlds, planes of existence connected to Wayreth Tower, decided to mine the wreckage of the crashed ship for artifacts. The crash after all did render 3 survivors unharmed and none worse for wear despite the harrowing ordeal. Trapspringer, Burrfoot and Demoris Metwinger had journeyed back from their honeymoon on the moons around Krinspace asterisk of KRYNN, and with the liberation of Sanchrist Isle from a potential takeover by Takhisis, they thwarted her evil plans and were now ultimately heroes. The citizens of Northern Urgoth made the couple their unsanctioned mayors and bestowed the titles Governor and Empress. Their daughter Astrid Demoris was the result of this arrangement. She was literally born as the ship came out of the sky. She was raised at the university aptly dubbed Strange and Wonderful Things. The third survivor in this story would be one Pez Burrfoot. Pez was not in the ship when it crashed. Moreover, he was on the ground as a captive waiting to be sacrificed, stuck in a cage during the ritual. Pez had survived even a crash that ended in a red dragon's untimely demise before and that had knocked out some of his teeth. But he got captured again and he would have been toast had the ship not crashed and conveniently saved his skin. He stumbled amongst the wreckage after being freed from his captors, completely bewildered about the turn of events. All he knew is that he was far from home, but his life was saved and so his aim became clear to him. And behold me bar. When the dust cleared I sees what's be but 2 Kendikins stumbling out of the rubble. Lady Demoris, she must have just birthed little Azar, cause she handed me Astrid and that child smiled up at me with her darling little baby green eyes and then she messed all down the front of me tunic. She baptized me. Gross as it sounds, cause I was already covered in dust and dirt and whatnot from the cage being so cramped, and the fella in front of me got his throat cut right before that thing come out of the sky, and got that Sivak to shut his big blabber more about how he was gonna bring about another cataclysm. One thing they teach Amy bar is tar smack em when they running that big blabber mouth, cause they's too busy talking to see ye ain't about their silly business know how. Weekenders talks when we needs to, but Petzer likes to ruck it with the betzer and a backhand, if we sees ye disrespectin' any womenfolk or actin' like an bully. Why sees I protect lady Astrid like she's my own. Now don't you be foolins, neither I got plenty of skaglins to take care of back home, but ye be certain Lady Astrid's virtue is not for sale. You makes her so much as cry, wis got a problem bar? Me bar Tasselhoff knows this too. We all love and care about Azar, how could we not? Tells you what, that girl she's yet to have her own adventure someday. Pez was an island kender, an acclaimed mariner and boasted as one of the strongest kenders in all Ansalon. As a life debt he became the de facto guardian of Trapspringer's daughter and hence her bodyguard. Astrid de Morris grew up to be an engineer and tinker capable of doing remarkable things considering her being a kender mostly there, due to being who her parents were. It was this friendship and the fact she is also Tasselhoff's cousin has given her the potential to become a hero herself. Taz and Pez have known each other for several decades, first meeting in Balfour Bay ages ago and even knew much of the same mercenaries, brigands, losers, and never-do-wells all kender frequently encounter. Throughout the War of the Lance the two experienced identical harrowing encounters with the dragon armies. Pez actually has 3 wives across the Taladon continent, 2 kids apiece. His crew and family had traveled the coasts of Ansalon and the spine of Taladers as much as Tars had wandered the roads and forests of Abanansinia. DM note: in the conventional sense PCs or the reader do not and are not required a need to know about Sigil *, or other worlds in game terms in the DragonLance world. KRYNN is a medieval fantasy setting. TSR in their time had suggested their worlds could possibly be traveled to within campaigns of the early 90s. Players often did this, so it was not uncommon for Spelljammer and Planescape to be 2 accessible mediums to explore areas outside of KRYNN with its inhabitants. None of this was just pulled out of the ether. A good portion of this lore has been floating around for about 30 years in some form through various media once endorsed by now defunct company TSR. Weiss and Hickman were not very keen on having Ravenloft and Spelljammer, or Planescape touch KRYNN in ANY capacity outside their sanctioned and reasonable expectations at the time. It is an ambitiously foolish undertaking with very little payoff that could be disaster for Dragonlance if the audience doesn't know the references or Easter eggs from the classic Dragonlance 2e era material, but consider what has already been done. The little engine that could has decided to do so for the sake of a Kender's wonder. Oops, don't give me that crap. If the charlatans of the surf can do what they've done to Dragonlance for 20 years, I'm pretty sure anything presented to you here will not be that bad.
Alright, guys. But thank you all for tuning in for a little bit of a special bit of that. I wanted to share a little bit of that with you. Like I said, I've got copies of this. Just get a hold of me. Anybody wants to use it. Hell, if Margaret Weiss, if she sees it, if you want to use the material, go for it. It's there. It's based on stuff that was there for 30 years. That's my explanation about Taz's dad. The guy that raised him, okay, was a he was originally a plainsman, but he was adopted by Kender. He was found by Kender. He was raised by Kender. That's why I had mentioned Little Big Man and the Jerk is my 2 inspirations for that story. He got the nickname Burrfoot because he stepped on a burr in training. And I would guess that the idea was that he met Taz's mom as a Kender scout in the garrison. Now, she obviously got pregnant. Not by Burrfoot, Kalen. Okay, Kalen is the name of the human that raised Tasselhoff. Okay, obviously him and Taz's mom are friends, but who Taz's dad is, it's hard to say. You know, maybe Taz doing all this hopping around, he did fuck up and accidentally romance his mom. It's kind of like that Back to the Future thing. Yeah, no. That's a joke, okay? I don't think he'd be that stupid, but, you know, whatever. Stranger things have happened, I guess, but that's something to think about as far as, you know, who his parents were. When I'd asked Margaret Weiss on Twitter about it, she said that, you know, his parents may or may have not been his biological parents. Kender are rather lackadaisical about child rearing. That's what she said. That's what I asked her about Tasselhoff's parents. So there you go. All right, guys. Thank you all for tuning in. And I'm going to go ahead and take a break. Almost test this and see if it ran pretty good. If it did, I got some more material to run. Like I said, I'm just doing a test out, make sure my audio is working and everything else. But y'all be good, and I'll be back a little bit later. Lord willing, keep my eyesight. Okay, just bear with me. All right, love y'all. Thank you. Like I said, this material, it's free for you all to use. Okay. If y'all want to write your Dragonlance material, make you content, this ought to help you out. Okay? It's OGL. It's free, okay? You can do whatever you want with it as long as you don't try to sue me for my own shit, okay? That's all I ask. Let everybody use it. Okay, there you go. That's my gift to the Dragonlance community. All of you guys out there, you, man on the street. Mark Wise, Tracy Hickman, all of you, okay? This is my dedication to y'all, all right? Take it or leave it. It's all right. You don't have to. If you don't, like Margaret Wise said, if I don't like it, I'm not going to read it. And you know what? That's okay. Okay? People approach Dragonlance as to how they want to. All right? My approach might not have been the same as somebody else's approach. That's my point. There's more than one Taz running around the multiverse. And yes, it's okay to buy the new books. Okay? I'll look through them. I've looked through them. It's all right. All right? I'm a 2E guy. There's nothing wrong with, approaching it from a different point. Okay? There is some consistency there. I like consistency. So, like I said, if the charlatans of the surf can do their shit with Dragonlance, I can do my shit. All right, y'all. Be good, and we'll holler at you a little bit later. This is Engine Joe. Roll on.